In order for a tree to carry out photosynthesis and maintain its overall health, water and nutrients need to move throughout the entire tree, even against gravity. How does a plant manage this without an organ like a heart that pumps fluids? As we will see, water is pulled from the roots to the leaves through a process called transpiration. In addition, water potential drives the movement of water from one area of the plant to another using osmosis, gravity, and the surface tension of water. Transpiration begins in the leaves. The arrangement of cells and structures in the leaf facilitate the movement of gases and water into and out of the leaf. A leaf contains several layers of specialized cells. The upper epidermis is one cell layer thick and provides a protective covering. Below that layer is mesophyll tissue. Cells in the palisade mesophyll layer are sites for photosynthesis and secretion, as well as storage of food and water. The spongy mesophyll layer contains a looser arrangement of cells, where spaces between cells aid in gas exchange and the passage of water vapor from the leaves. Throughout the lower epidermal tissue are stomata, which are microscopic openings flanked by guard cells. Gases pass into and out of the leaf through these openings, as well as water vapor evaporating from the leaf, a process known as transpiration. The spongy mesophyll layer contains arrangements of vascular tissue, consisting of xylem and phloem that are specialized for the transport of water and nutrients throughout the plant. The vascular tissue extends from the leaves, through the stem, to the roots. Water is transported in xylem from the roots, where the water potential is higher, up to the leaves where the water potential is lower. The arrangement of the tissues, the functions of the cells, and water potential determine the direction in which water will move through a plant. Water passes out of the leaf as water vapor through the stomata. The water vapor lost from the leaves is replaced with water that enters through the roots and is brought up through the stem in xylem. Xylem is composed of vessels, which are continuous tubes formed from dead, hollow, cylindrical cells arranged end to end, and tracheids, which are dead cells that taper as the ends overlap. This arrangement and the polar nature of water molecules allow water to pass in an unbroken stream through the xylem, from the roots up through the shoot and into the leaves. Adhesion is the attraction of water molecules to a surface, such as the wall of the xylem. Cohesion is hydrogen bonding between water molecules. Together, adhesion and cohesion allow water to move through the xylem in a continuous stream, from the roots up through the stem to replace water lost from the leaves through the stomata. Water enters the plant through the epidermal cells of the roots and travels into the xylem. Water potential in the cells of the roots increases when symporter pumps in the plasma membrane allow protons to pass into the cell, traveling down their concentration gradient. These pumps couple the transport of protons with the transport of minerals and other solutes into the cell. Water follows into the cell, driven by osmosis. The presence of aquaporin channels in the membrane enhances osmosis, allowing bulk flow of water from the soil into the roots. The other main vascular tissue is phloem. Phloem transports carbohydrates and amino acids that are produced in the leaves to cells in the roots and stems where they are used and stored. Conduction in phloem is carried out through two kinds of elongated cells, sieve cells and sieve tube members. Most angiosperms contain sieve tube members. Both types of cells have clusters of pores known as sieve areas that are abundant on the overlapping ends of cells. These structures aid in the movement of carbohydrates, like sucrose, that are manufactured in the leaves and carried in the phloem throughout the plant, a process called translocation. Turgor pressure increases in the sieve tube members as sucrose from surrounding cells is brought into phloem through active transport. Water then enters phloem from xylem by osmosis, which drives the transport of carbohydrates in the phloem. Water movement in vessels is one way. while transport in sieve tube members can go in both directions. Water potential is an important driver in both xylem and phloem transport, but only phloem transport utilizes both active and passive transport. Our heart pumps blood throughout our bodies to provide nutrients and water to our cells. Vascular plants can accomplish this same feat without a heart, using transpiration, water potential, and translocation to move water, nutrients, and minerals to all cells of the plant.
Transportation in plants. At the end of this session, you will be able to know the function of xylem and phloem cells and explain transportation in plants. All plants need water. Plant roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. Water absorption is mainly carried out by root hairs. These narrow-walled hairs greatly increase the area over which water absorption can take place. Water and minerals enter the root by two pathways: apoplastic pathway and symplastic pathway. If water and minerals move from cell to cell through spaces between the cell walls, then it is known as apoplastic pathway. In symplastic pathway, the water and minerals move across the cytoplasm and finally reaches the xylem. Xylem vessels are long, narrow, hollow tubes containing no living material. The xylem transports water and soluble mineral nutrients from the roots to other parts of a plant. About 95% of the water absorbed is lost through the stomata present in the leaves. This process is known as transpiration. The number of stomata is more on the lower surface of leaves. If transpiration happens throughout the day, then there will be a great loss of water. This is controlled by the stomatal opening and closing mechanism. During the daytime, water enters into the guard cells along with the potassium ions. This brings about a change in the shape of the guard cells, and the stoma opens. During the night, the potassium ions and water molecules leave the guard cells. Thus, the turgidity decreases and the stoma closes. Stomata also act as main sites of gaseous exchange in plants. Leaves make use of water and the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Glucose formed during photosynthesis is transported to the other parts of the body through phloem cells. Phloem tissue consists of less specialized and nucleate parenchyma cells, sieve tube cells, and companion cells. Transport of food in phloem can be up or down the stem to reach all parts of the plant. Hence, the transportation in plants is the function of xylem and phloem cells.
We know all about the xylem and the phloem. But now we need to know exactly how water and minerals move around the plant. You should already know about the structure of the leaf, but if not, watch this video to remind you. Let's have a look at transpiration and the xylem. Transpiration is the evaporation of water from the aerial parts of the plant, so the leaves and stems. By water evaporating out of these parts, mostly the leaves, a suction pressure is created which draws up the water through the plant. This is called the transpiration pull. But what exactly happens in transpiration? Let's start at the roots. Roots have root hairs, giving them a large surface area for water absorption. Water passes in from the soil by osmosis, passing down the concentration gradient and into the root hair cell's cytoplasm, and then onto the xylem vessels. Water moves through the xylem vessels from the root to the stem to the leaf. Transpiration at the leaf causes a transpiration pull, and because water molecules are cohesive, water is pulled up through the plant in the transpiration stream. As well as the leaf cells needing water for photosynthesis, water also keeps the cells turgid, which supports the plant. Inside the leaves, water is drawn out of the xylem cells to replace the water lost through transpiration. Because of the cohesive nature of water, which also pulls the water through the plant, as water leaves the xylem and moves into the leaf, it again pulls more water molecules behind it. But it isn't just about water. The transpiration stream also transports mineral ions that are dissolved in the water from the roots to the leaves. The transpiration rate isn't constant. There are many different factors that affect it. The environmental factors are similar to those that make you sweaty. The temperature, the humidity, but also wind and light intensity. Then there are also physical factors, like does it have a waxy cuticle? How many stomata does it have? The nature of the guard cells, how large is the leaf surface area, and if the leaf is folded or flat. If the rate of transpiration increases, then the rate of water absorption by the roots needs to increase too. When water is scarce, or if the roots are damaged, the plant needs to reduce its transpiration rate by closing some of their stomata. There are guard cells on either side of the stomata, which regulate this. During daylight hours, chloroplasts produce sugar. This lowers the water potential of the guard cells, and they take in water by osmosis. This makes the guard cells turgid. Because the guard cells have a different cell wall thickness, when turgid, they bend more on the outside into sausage shapes. This opens the stomata, or the pore. Water can then be lost. During the night, all the sugar produced by the chloroplasts gets used up, so the water potential of the guard cells increases. More water, less sugar. The guard cells lose water by osmosis and become flaccid, and the stomata starts to close. This reduces water loss. So you now know about water movement through the plant, up the xylem, and pulled along the transpiration stream by the transpiration pull. And unsurprisingly, the plant has methods to control water loss by closing the stomata, based upon how flaccid or turgid the guard cells are. So in the final part of this video, we are going to look at the movement of glucose. After all, water may be important, but so is food.